Welcome to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio with your host, motivational speaker Greg Dwyer. Be sure to check out Greg at www.gregdwyer.com. That's www.gregdwyer.com. Now on to our show. Take it away, Greg.
Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year's. January 1st today, 2023. 2022 is gone, and now we are in the new year. Very exciting, very exciting. You know, when you look at the statistics of how many people actually make New Year's resolutions and actually follow through, it's really startling. Most people don't follow through. And when I heard about this years ago, I thought, wow, what chance is there for someone to write down a resolution and actually to make it happen? Well, 98% of the people that even make New Year's resolutions, of 100 people, I should say, 100 people that make resolutions, 98% don't follow through. Isn't that crazy? So that means 2% actually follow through. Like if they say they're going to go to the gym in January, they're still at the gym in February, March, April, May, June, July, August. I mean, they're still doing it, whether it's losing weight or making money or relationships issues. They're following through. But most people, here's the point, most people that set a New Year's resolution don't follow through. So you have a lot of people that say, hey, why even bother? So maybe in the last couple hours, people have said, hey, did you make a resolution? Are you going to do anything different? Did you say that to people? Did you hear people say that to you? I have. If you go on social media, people will say, 2022 was a terrible year. Or they'll say things like, 2023 is going to be a better year. I guess my question is, how do you know? How do you know? I think a lot of this is very subjective. If you think about the last 12 months of last year, was it a great year? Was it an okay year? Was it a bad year? How do you know? I guess it's just subjective. You say, I had some things happen, some good things happen, some bad things happen. Maybe you write things down, you think about it. But I'm going to share with you something that will keep you on track. And if you follow through with it, you will be surprised in that it will help you to stay really focused in the new year, which is 2023. Now, I've been practicing this since 2009. I'm not going to tell you right away exactly what it is, but I will tell you that what I'm going to share with you is something that I've been using since 2009, and it's really served me well. A lot of times people will say, well, what do you want in the new year? What do you want to be different? Or what do you want to be accelerated? If you made money, maybe you want to make more money. Well, I think the first thing is to be able to understand how your year went, and not just based on how you're feeling today. Let's face it. If it's a rainy day and a cold day, maybe you're not feeling that well about things, or maybe if it's a really beautiful day and it's sunny out, you feel really happy. So a lot of times it's based on your emotional state. But what if you had a tool that you know exactly how your year was, and what if you could use that tool to help you predict your next year? And I'm not talking about a crystal ball. I'm talking about something that's really simple and easy to do, which will keep you on track to help you to focus. A lot of you know I do a speech called The Importance of Focus. And what I say to folks at the beginning of my lecture is that getting focused isn't really a challenge. Anybody can get focused. And the thing I talk about is New Year's Eve resolutions. People say, I really want to lose weight. And they're focused on, the end of the year, December 31st. They know exactly what they want. Or they'll say, I want a new job, or I want to do something completely different. And they're focused. So getting focused, I don't really think that's an issue. I think it's maintaining the focus, staying focused over the long term. And that's the key. That's the thing that will separate you from, the 98% of people that get focused on January 1st, but come February, March, or April, they're just back where they were before. And I've asked myself, why is this? Well, I really believe that the reason why people fall back to where they were before is because of habits. Habits, that's it. Let's face it, somebody could set a New Year's resolution, or they could have an intention. Let's say it's just an intention. And then what happens is they go into the new year, or the new week, or the new month, it doesn't matter when it is, and they fall back into old patterns, which are familiar. So let's say you want to cut donuts out of your life, or you want to cut sugar out of your life, or you want to cut certain people out of your life, whatever it is, right? The tendency, it's almost like a gravitational pull. The tendency is to go back to what was familiar, especially under stress, especially under pressure. People tend to go back to the way it was. And, you see this in relationships. A person will leave an abusive relationship. Maybe the person's an alcoholic, or there's just mentally or emotionally abusive. And then they'll go back to that person, or they'll find somebody that's just like it. Habits are powerful, and especially when habits are in the subconscious and you're not aware of them, it's hard to beat it. So I'm going to share with you something that will definitely help you to break the habit, and also help you to understand how your year was last year and how your year will be this year. So let's face it, today is January 1st. There are 365 days in the year. How are you going to track this? How are you going to stay on track? Not only to get focused, right, but also to stay focused. So while you're listening to me, think about something in your life that you want to improve. Now, all of us, fall into categories that we probably want to improve, like our health. Let's face it. If things go wrong this year with our health, it's pretty much over, right? They say a person that's really, really healthy, they might have 10, 15, 20 goals, 20 things that they want to do. But the person that's not healthy, that's really struggling to either get around or to walk or, to function, they only have one. They only have one goal in life, and that is to get healthy. So health is really important, and we have to focus on health, So maybe that's something that you want to improve this year, your health. Or the other thing that impacts everyone is our finances. Maybe we want to have a side hustle, or we want to open that business, or we want to make more money, or we want to leave a job and find another job that's paying more. Finances is really important. Or the next one is relationships. You've listened to people on social media. They're either getting into a relationship or getting out of a relationship, but relationships are an issue as well. So these are three things that most people have to think about. Or your career, that's another thing that people think about, or where they live. These are just general things that all of us from time to time think about. And if we focus on it, we can actually improve it. So how do we stay focused after we get focused? Because getting focused isn't the issue. It's staying focused, in the new year. That means 3 months from now. That means 6 months from now. That means 9 months from now. So here is what I have done since 2009 that has really helped me. And that is, it's really simple. It is a gratitude journal. That's all it is. I heard about this through Jack Canfield many, many years ago. I saw him at a lecture live. I'm not sure exactly where it was, but it was 2009, and he had a gratitude journal. And I thought, wow, this really will help me stay focused and get focused and stay focused. So I started in 2009, and to be honest with you, I was not perfect. There were days when I journaled. There were days when I did not journal. If I go back to my journaling book from 2009, there are some pages that are empty and some pages that are, filled out the way they should be. But over time, I started to get consistent with it. And I'll tell you, it is a gift. Going back from 2009, having all of those journals is really powerful. And here's why, because it helps me, and I think it will help you to see where you have been. Like a lot of times people think about, their last year, which was 2022, and they'll come up with ideas like, oh, it was wonderful. I had a great time. I definitely don't want to not do the things I did or whatever. I think that's a double negative. But, they compare their New Year's with the old year, and it's completely subjective, completely 100% subjective. It's like saying to somebody, how was September last year for you? Or how was June for you last year? And people, the summer was great. We went to Disney World, that sort of thing. But what the journal does is it really helps you to get focused on your life. So here's how it works. And you can adopt this. You can go to a paper store, bookstore, and just get your own blank journal. You can get a notebook. It doesn't really matter. But what you would do is you would write down every single day, I say five things that you are grateful for in the day. So today is January 1st. You'd write down 5 things that you're grateful for. And you could do 4 if you want. But here's what I've learned. If you do 5 things a day, 365 times in a year, you're going to have 1,825 entries. Now, what that's going to do for you is it's going to give you a bird's eye view of your year. Now, obviously, if you haven't done this, you don't have anything to look at for 2022. You just don't have it. Maybe you have some notes, or maybe you can reminisce about how the year went, but it's completely subjective, and memory, I know, isn't perfect 100%. But what I love about this process is you start to see patterns. You start to see habits over the 12 months. And like I said, if you do it, imagine having 1,825 things. Now, what are we talking about here? Well, you could be rushed and you could be tired, and you put down water, you put down shelter, you put down food, you put down friends, you put down safety, whatever. You don't really think about it. However, if you do take the time to think about it and you're really aware of it, you could put down things like, oh, I had a great New Year's Eve party with friends last night. That would be wonderful, right? I got an unexpected gift from my neighbor the other day. You could write that down. In other words, you're being very, very aware, very conscious of what's going on in your day. And you don't have to spend hours at this. It could take 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. There are some days where I will just write down water, food, shelter, friends, and just close the book and go to sleep. But what happens is, if you do this every day, and it does take time, it does take habit building, because you'll probably resist this. I know I've suggested this to people, and they're like, yeah, I know I was supposed to do it, but I didn't do it. It's better to do it with simple things like food, water, friends, shelter, clothes, rather than not doing it all. So if you're saying, well, I don't know if I could think of 5 things every single day that I'm grateful for, I think I would run out of things. I hear that a lot. People say, I don't think I can do it because I'm going to run out of things to be grateful for. Well, you can always write down the same things you wrote down the day before, the month before, the week before. The other day a deer ran in front of my car. I'm like, I'm thankful I didn't hit the deer. I know somebody up in upstate, they hit a deer, their car was totaled. So, you start looking, you start looking for things to be grateful for. But I guess my advice to everyone would be, it's better to start off slow with simple things. Like tonight, you can say, I'm glad to be alive. Everybody can write that down, right? If you're alive, you can write that down. I have a roof over my head. There's number 2. I have clothing. I have food. I have friends. There's 5. You're done. You're done. Close the book, go to bed, wake up tomorrow, you start looking for 5 things. And if you do it every single day, at the end of the year, you're going to have 1,825 things to reflect on. And so when someone says to you on December 31st, 2023, which is what, in a year from now, how was your year? What are you looking forward to? You can pull out your journal, your notebook, and say, this is how my year went. This is how things unfolded for me. So I'm going to tell you how I reflect with this, but before I do that, we're going to take a fast commercial for 30 seconds.
You've been listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. Do you wish you could sharpen your focus on what matters most to you and achieve more? Then you owe it to yourself to read Greg's ebook at gregdwyerebook.com. That's www.gregdwyerebook.com. Download it today and give it away. As always, we want to thank you for listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio with motivational speaker Greg Dwyer. Now back to our show. Take it away, Greg.
All right, so Happy New Year. If you're listening live or you're listening to a broadcast, we're talking about how to get focused and stay focused. You know, you think about a pilot taking off from JFK flying to Hawaii. You know, they must have a log where they're logging things in, and they must, you know, check their dials occasionally to see if they're on track, right? I would think anybody that is flying a plane isn't just jumping in the plane and hoping that they're going to get there. Well, I think there's a lot of people when they come to the new year, it's like, oh, well, we'll see what happens. Let's just jump in and see what happens. Okay, that's fine. I understand that approach. Another approach is that you have a focal point that you want to work towards. And one way to do it is reverse engineering. Now, obviously, if you've never done this before, you won't have this to do this year, but you will have it next year. So there's a little bit of delayed reaction here, delayed gratification here, because what I'm sharing with you, you're not going to see the benefits of this probably until 6 months or 12 months. You know, so if you don't have this in hand for 2022, you got to start somewhere. You know, it's like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about investments, you know, and well, when's the best time to invest? You know, when the market's down or the market's up? You know, should I wait till next year? And I said, listen, I'm not a financial advisor, but I can tell you the best time to invest is now. Like wherever it is, now is the answer. Yeah, when would now be a good time to start investing? So when would now be a good time to really start thinking about this? It could be in the middle of the summer if you're listening to this, or it could be January 1st, 2023, as I'm doing this live at 5:17 in the afternoon here in Connecticut. So imagine, if you will, it is December 31st, 2023, 12 months from now. You've listened to my advice as though, you know, you're going to take it to heart. And I know it does sound a little crazy because, you know, every day you got to write something down, and it's not easy to do, and it's also easy not to do. It really is. It's easy to say, oh, I'll pick that up in February. But you can do it. You can simply write down simple things like water. Right now I got a cup of water in my hand, right? I'm drinking my water. Here I go. Do you realize some people in the world, they spend 2 to 3 hours looking for clean water? You know, that's their day, right? You kind of start taking that stuff for granted, or friends, or the fact that you got a little bit of savings, or, you know, you have a goal. It's really exciting once you start the process. Now, here's where the real magic is. This is where the real magic is. At the end of the year, if you've done this every day, you have 1,825 entries, 5 times 365. What I typically do is I go through my journal, January through December, and I take a highlighter and I highlight special things that have happened during the year. Now, obviously, the food, the water, the clothing, the friends, you know, they're not necessarily a major highlight, right? Because that can repeat itself month after month, week after week. But there are certain things that are what I would call magic moments. You know, these are things that, you know, synchronicity, providence, whatever you want to call it, something, you know, out of the blue that you're really happy about that happened to you. It's something you didn't plan and it just happened. So what I do is I sit down. It takes me about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And what I'll do is I'll just sit down and I'll take my highlighter and I'll highlight some entries of things. Like, for instance, let me give you one. This summer, I bumped into the amazing Kreskin. He was here in Connecticut, and I went to see him, and it was fun. It was great. He did a show. I was sitting VIP right in the front. So I wrote that down in my journal. That's something that doesn't happen every day, right? In addition, I asked him to be on my podcast. And so I think we did like 45 minutes on a podcast with the amazing Kreskin. Now, here's a guy I used to watch when I was a kid on Johnny Carson. And in 1981, he came to my high school and he pulled me up on stage. So I've known this guy, for many, many years. He's up there in age, and so am I for that matter. But it was kind of cool to be able to write that down in my journal for 2022, and I highlighted it. So throughout the year, you're going to examine the year. And then when you get to the end of the year, you're going to take a highlighter, and you're going to highlight the top 100, 150, 200 things that were really, really special. You're like, wow, that's a lot of things. Well, who knows? Maybe you only have 10 things that are special, or maybe you only have 50 things that are special. But if you go through your journal for the year and you only have like 5 things that were really great, you might want to think about changing your life. Maybe, you're eating the same food every day, or you're, hanging around the same people, you're doing the same things every day, and you're not getting creative. That's an indication that you might want to make some changes. So you just go through the book and you start seeing these great mountaintop things that are really exciting to you. And after that, what I do is I write those 100, 150, 200 things in the next journal for the next year. Does that make sense? So I'm always one step ahead in the journaling process. So right now, I have a journal that's blank. I haven't put anything in it today, January 1st, 2023. But in the back of the journal is about 150, 200 things from last year. So if I want to review the top magic moments from last year, which was a day ago, all I have to do is look at my new journal and go, oh, yeah, that's what happened to me in July, or that's what happened to me in August. It kind of gets you to see your life. They say when people die, here's the best example I can think of. They say when people die, and I haven't died yet, and I've talked to people that have had, near-death experiences, but I've had people tell me that their life flashes before them. Now I don't know how that happens if you're 75 or 80 or 100 or 60 or whatever, but your whole life flashes in front of you. It's like, wow, I get it. That's probably a fast-forward movie. This is a way to have a flash of your year without dying. That's really what it is. It's able to take a, like a movie or a flash of your 12 months without, being dead. Really think about it. So you got 1,285 things, and a lot of it is, thank God I didn't hit the deer, or, I'm grateful for this and grateful for that. But some of the things are really magical. Some of them are really special. And you highlight those things, and then you write those things down. Can you imagine what your year would be like if you gave yourself that gift? That gift. And can you imagine the gift you're going to leave behind to the people that love you? Now, 2009, 2019, that's 10 years, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's a lot of books. It's a lot of books. Or if you're doing notebooks, that's a lot of notebooks. However, if you have family and friends, and I hope you do, they're going to have a record of your life. Now, my mom, she died in the 70s. I have a journal that she had. It's only a few pages. It's not a lot of pages. And I have a couple other books that she had that she wrote in, and a notebook that she scribbled in. And I really cherish these things. I'm not saying they're going to make a movie of the week about you. I'm not saying they're going to publish a book about you. It's not like we're all Barbara Walters here, right? Or Pope Benedict, both of them just died recently. But what you're doing is you're leaving behind a legacy for people to have. Now, maybe they're going to show up at a used bookstore. I don't know. But at least you'll have something to give to people, or I should say they'll be able to look at your life. So some of the things I write down in my journal, they're not totally descriptive. They'll say, something cryptic that I understand that, you know, if someone looked at it. If you're worried about people looking at your diary or you're looking at, you know, your journal after you're gone and you don't want to be too revealing, you could write things down like, I had a great day. You know what that means, but nobody else would really understand it. So I've done that too if you want to keep things private. This is a way to really gauge your life, really to examine your life. You know, there's this concept at the end of the year, the beginning of the year, to look back and to look forward. And if you've ever seen the two-headed bird, where the bird is looking to the past and to the future, that's exactly what we all do. Most people do, I should say, around December 31st and January 1st. They're reflecting upon their year, and at the same time, they're thinking about how the year will be in the future. This one thing, and as simple as it is, because it really is that simple, has keeping me on track. And it's a gift that I want to pass on to you. Jack Canfield shared it with me, and I would just encourage you, get a notebook if you want. Go out and buy a journal. Go online and get a Jack Canfield book. It doesn't matter. And all you do is you put down the dates and you write down 5 things, possibly 4 if you want to go with 4. And then at the end of the year, you're giving yourself a gift of reflection so that you can look at your year and see if you're on track. Let's face it, if you want to do something different in the new year, which is now, you don't want to fall back to habits that are going to keep you from what you want. So if you want to improve your health, you want to improve your relationships or your money or your job or relationships or whatever it is, you have to have a way of tracking it. The people that fail, I will say this, I think the people that fail, they never write anything down. And if they do, they only look at it every 12 months. Every 12 months. You know, what good is it to write something down on December 31st and not look at it again until the following year, December 31st? What chance would you have to change your life? Probably not. Really, the odds are against you, really. However, writing things down every single day, like for instance, if you want to lose weight, you write down, hey, I lost 1 pound this week. I lost 3 pounds this month. You have a track record of what you're doing. If you want to stay away from certain food, you know, you can write that down as well. So you're looking at this every single day, every single week, and every single month, and you're celebrating. You can also celebrate at the end of the month. I was going to say at the end of the year, but you don't have to wait that long. You could start this tonight. Very, very simple. Get a notebook, start tonight, and at the end of this month, you know, the end of January, you could look back at the 30 days and you could celebrate the month. You could get to celebrate 12 times during the year. And then at the end of the year, when people are at parties and they're thinking about their new year and how things went, you'll have a track record of exactly where your year was, how it unfolded, what you were happy about, and also what you want to make changes with. And on top of it, as I said, you're leaving behind a legacy. So next week I'm going to continue this, but I'm going to continue with the question. Here's the question. What did you love about 2022? What did you love about 2022? That's the question I want you to think about tonight, and I'd like you to think about it this week. What were some of the things that you absolutely loved about last year? Here it is, January 1st, 2023, the first day of the new year, the first night of the new year. And the question I want to pose for you is, what did you love about last year, 2022? And if you're saying, you know, I don't really know, not really sure, it's probably because you don't have anything to go back to look at. So if I were to ask you this question next year, you know, which is what, 2024, about 2023, you could say, Greg, I have a list here. I could tell you exactly what I loved about it. So we're going to pick up next week on the same topic of New Year's resolutions, about journaling and gratitude, but we're also going to go deeper with this. So I'm going to encourage you, get a journal and start working on this, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a great new year.
You've been listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. Check out Greg at gregdwyer.com. Be sure to download his ebook at gregdwyerebook.com to stay focused on what matters most to you. That's www.gregdwyerebook.com. We want to thank you for listening.